On West Campus, at the corner of Lane Avenue and Kenny Road, is Ohio State's growing innovation district, Carmenton. In this episode, we'll take a virtual walk to Carmenton with my guest, Peter Mohler, Ohio State's Executive Vice President for Research, Innovation, and Knowledge. The Innovation District began as a vision shared between the university, the City of Columbus, and JobsOhio. The groups came together to accelerate collaboration between the public, private, and academic sectors. Collaboration with the power to nurture our region from economic success to health to social and cultural vibrance. In 2 short years, Carmenton has changed the campus landscape, and the Buckeyes who work there are already changing lives. Peter, are you ready for our virtual visit to Carmenton?
I'm excited for the visit.
So I think about Carmenton, and I suspect the idea of an innovation district had been discussed for quite a while amongst Ohio State leaders. So can you shed light on how and when the idea really started gaining momentum?
So I have been at Ohio State for probably 12 years at this point. I have seen, and every time I talk about Carmenton, hear about news clips where people talk about the idea of innovation district going back 20, even 30 years. News clippings from the 80s of this is going to be the new innovation district. I would say just in the last 5 years, things have really began to get momentum. And I think that momentum has been because of the collaborations, not only between, as you mentioned, the state and JobsOhio and the city, but really the collaboration between the deans to really think about how can we work together differently to solve big problems for the state and for the nation.
So they have an expression that says, we stand on the shoulders of giants.
That's
And
right.
so 20 years, but the other saying is not on my watch, but on your watch this happened.
That's right. So it's sometimes better to be lucky than good. And I think in this case, the stars really aligned with the convergence of a lot of different scientific areas. So I think about what has happened in your world with AI and things that are happening in microelectronics and semiconductors. You think about some of the things that are happening in the space of therapeutics and device design. And so, when those pieces have come together in the state of Ohio or in the nation, Ohio State has responded. And I would say leaders at our institution have gotten together to say, how can we create together the new workforce for Ohio? How can we create solutions that get at things like energy or at therapeutics or at the new future of semiconductors and chips? So it's been exciting.
So when you think about artificial intelligence, energy, therapeutics, microelectronics, they have to live in a space. And so if you drive along Lane and cross by Kenny, you will see 3 beautiful new buildings situated right there on the intersection. So what's inside, or what do you envision behind the walls of those 3?
Sure. So the buildings are fantastic. The people in the buildings, as you know, because there are a lot of your folks, are even better. So let me just walk you through these 3 buildings. So the first is the new building called the Pelotonia Research Center. So this is around 305,000 square feet of laboratory space. And laboratory space that you can really do anything. You can do anything from incredibly vibration sensitive research, things like electronics, things like microscopy, a lot of work, you mentioned AI, a lot of space that's devoted toward dry lab space, high computational output, lots of engineers in that space, and then a lot of space that's designed to do work that's in the life sciences or therapeutics. A lot of faculty in your world are living in things like 3D printing to develop new spine or new hip replacements. So a lot of great things happening in that space. Right next door is called the Energy Advancement and Innovation Center. This was a building that was originally designed just to do work around creating new new solutions in the area of energy. Exciting things are happening in that space. But beyond that, we have pivoted a little bit to think about how can we take this building and work a little bit more with our partners in industry and in the state. And so we now have tenants in this space that not only are faculty at Ohio State, but are private companies, some of which have been founded out of Ohio State to address some of these issues, whether it's in energy or in life sciences or in microelectronics. So those are the two buildings that have come out of the ground to focus specifically on research. The third, which we don't hear as much about in research, is the cancer outpatient facility, which is right there on Kinney, and again, it houses significant new clinical space for the James, for the Cancer Center, but a huge amount of clinical trials that happen in that space have participation in faculty from, I think, 11 out of our 15 colleges, many of those faculty from the College of Engineering.
Okay, so the Pelotonia Research Center, which we call PRC, the Energy Advancement Innovation Center, which we call EAIC,
right.
The cancer one. What's the acronym?
I think we have to think of one. We can give ourselves a few minutes and brainstorm, but I'm sure they'll love that idea.
Well, an engineer, we always have to throw out the acronyms.
Dean Howard, what we've talked about those three buildings. Some people forget the fact, though, that the Innovation District has another. We talked about Kinney and Lane. Kinnear Road is a huge part of the Innovation District, and when I think about some of the most innovative things happening at Ohio State or even in the state of Ohio are coming out of that zip code. And so you think about things that are happening in mobility with the Center for Automotive Research, things that are happening in electronics out of ESL, which is one of your groups, work that's happening in the Institute of Materials Research or CMAS or CDME, groundbreaking research that is being utilized by companies like Intel or Amgen or Honda on a daily basis, all come out of, not these three fancy buildings at the corner of Kinney and Lane, but work that has been going on for the past 5 decades over there on Kinnear Road has really changed the world.
So if you think about this groundbreaking research, you think about Carmenton, the Kinnear Lane, Kinnear Road, I think about this as like the phase one of what we imagine. And so kind of walk me through, is there a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 100?
I think there are, the way that I understand it from our architects is I think there's 6 different stages of this. And I think a key piece of the Innovation District, or Carmenton as you call it, is really to think about this not just as a real estate asset, but an asset for not only the university and the region, but the state of how do we ensure that we're aligning with our land grant mission that is service to the state or service to the country. And so while, certainly you could put a bunch of stores and a bunch of apartments and a bunch of, people to fill it up, we want to be very thoughtful that this 300 acres that sits right in the middle of one of the fastest growing places on earth, really we're thoughtful about how we develop that. And so as we think about the next stage of Carmenton, we talked about these 3 initial buildings, which what I would consider on the northeast corner. We're beginning to think about what are the people that are going to be working there, what do they need? And so they need places to eat, they need places to live. This is an incredibly fast-growing part of the city, and we want to make sure that graduate students have a place to live and postdocs have a place to live. And so we're beginning to think about this next piece, which will include residential space for 500 to 600 individuals to be able to not only work over there, but to be able to live there, be able to have a place to exercise, have green space, and be able to have a place to really raise their families.
So as you think about this place to live, eat, work, and play, I'm sure there are companies that are just like excited to figure it out. Like, oh, well, maybe we should make our way over to Carmenton and really thinking about the goal of making an impact not just in the state but the nation, which links to not just well-established companies but startups and entrepreneurs. And so when you think about that, what kind of feedback or interest have you received from companies thinking about, oh, wait, what is this? Innovation District, Ohio State? Can you tell us a little more?
Absolutely. So I think we've all seen over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, the research and development engine at Ohio State has really been kicking in. And if we look at the College of Engineering, if we look at the university at large, we've grown significantly to where we've moved as a university from about 24th place to 11th. So we're about to crack the top 10. And that's important in terms of rankings, but I think the rankings really don't get into what does that mean in terms of solutions and impact. And if you look at the research that's coming out of labs within the College of Engineering or more broadly, these are ideas that are now beginning to work themselves into into the market. And so we want to make sure that we have a place for those faculty and those engineers and those students to be able to develop the technology right here in Central Ohio. That means to be able to have capital to do that, but it also needs to have mentoring. You need to be able to have a place to do this. And we're very pleased that this building we call the EIAC has space for new faculty to start their companies. But at the last board meeting, we announced a third building, which is the third research building, or the fourth building that we'll talk about today, which is called the CEC building. And this building is designed to create space for AI through the Center for Software Innovation, which the College of Engineering is very deeply engaged in. Again, a generous donation from the Timoshev Family Foundation to focus on artificial intelligence. I'm going to flip this on you. Tell us a little bit about your faculty and what you're doing with business. And I mean, it's stuff that doesn't fit in a box. So can you explain that to us?
No, I was really appreciative when Ratmir was like, we're going to challenge you, Ohio State, to figure this out of how do you intersect business and computing, computer science, innovation. And so we have faculty, we have administrators, myself in the College of Business, really trying to figure out how do you train the next generation of students so that they understand business and have business sense, but also understand the needs of software within the world. And hopefully this will be the talent that these companies will come and hire. And that's really a goal and a dream, but I think it's a reality.
Yeah, and we're so lucky to have these sorts of supporters that not only are engaged in the science of what we're doing, but really can help us translate a lot of this science to the market. Since we opened the first two buildings, we have seen companies beginning to come out of the woodwork that are actively excited about not only being around the scientific talent for their companies, but also to be able to think about being next to this workforce of incredibly talented engineers and technicians that they would have access to. So if anyone is listening and they have interest in being part of the Innovation District and thinking about workforce, thinking about innovation, building ecosystem for their company, we would love to give folks tours of the Innovation District and figure out if there might be a way to get you in.
So this is exciting. It's when you think about the vision, you said maybe 20 years, in your 12 years, 5 years, and in my 3, we now see a realization of a vision and a dream that I think will really impact. I just want to say thank you. I actually learned quite a bit today, and I know our listeners here too have learned an amazing amount. Thank you for helping lead this vision of Carmenton and helping us all drive innovation at Ohio State.
Well, thank you for your leadership. This would not be happening without your leadership at the College of Engineering.
Thanks for listening to Enginuity. Stay up to date on all the amazing innovation and groundbreaking research happening within The Ohio State University College of Engineering by connecting with us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at OSU Engineering.